Hello, YouTube divers. This is Water Eye 122, and I want to welcome you all to another episode of the podcast for high school sports all across Western North Carolina. Man, we're already on the 8th episode. My goodness. High school sports have been busy, and they will be throughout the rest of the school year, so you might see even more sports headlines. So, what we got on the itinerary for today? Well, I mainly want to talk about my plans on covering another high school sporting event. I'll get to that later in the video. And also for the potential coverage of the Brevard High School football game on Friday night when the Blue Devils host Robbinsville. We're going to get into all that jazz here in this video. So, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? So, the first thing on the itinerary, we have me potentially going to a Brevard High School volleyball game tomorrow, watching the Blue Devils take on the Rosman Tigers, a county rival, and literally the only high school left in the county, because it's just Brevard and Rosman here in Transylvania County. County rivalry, both teams, are coming in with strong records. Brevard's coming off of a win against East Henderson yesterday. They won 3-0. And Rosman, they won 3-0 in both of the games they've played, but it was against Highland School and Blue Ridge Early College, respectively. I wouldn't really consider those two teams high-quality volleyball teams, but this will be a great test for the Rosman Tigers, who are coming off of a 9-3 season in 2020. If you ask me, that is pretty flippin' good. I think this will be a major test for both of these teams, because according to Max Preps, this is the only time that they meet all season. And of course, a lot of folks from both sides will be at the game, because it's a county rivalry thing. They're only separated by 8 miles of road between the two schools. But overall, do I think this is a great? Do I think this is a good matchup? I would say it's a great matchup because Rosman's 2-0. They've looked really good throughout these first two games, and that's saying something because that's usually something I don't say about Rosman. But for some reason, I think volleyball is a growing sport in their community. So we'll just see how things go. And for Brevard, well, if you take out the somewhat down year we had in 2020, we were 5-6 in 2020. If you take out that year, Brevard has been a solid, and I mean solid, volleyball school. They're perennial state championship contenders. Heck, in 2019, which was my freshman year, Brevard volleyball went all the way to the state championship, but sadly lost. So that was a little bit of a down factor. But, I think Brevard will kind of reach for that same potential again. I just don't think they're quite ready to compete in, state championships. I think they will be a state quarterfinals, state semifinals type of team this year because they got a lot of talent, especially the juniors. The juniors, whew! Abby Pace, Vera Pandolfo, Ansley Banyard, Lizzie Chapman, the list just goes on. A lot of the folks that are on the varsity team this year were upgraded from from a JV team that went undefeated in the 2020 campaign. So, I have beyond reasonable doubt that Brevard will return to that former glory this year. But it all starts here. Yes, they did beat a weak opponent like East Henderson, and no offense to you Eagles fans out there who are watching. But Rosman, if I was talking about football, I'd say Brevard would probably walk all over them like East Henderson did on Friday. Yeah, that was bad. But I think this is a really close matchup. And as usual, I will give my predictions to each of these volleyball games. I'm going to say Brevard wins 3-1. Yeah, I do think Rosman will be competitive enough to maybe win one set, maybe two. But when it comes to the front line that Brevard has, and with the amount of talent that they have, now I don't follow Rosman as nearly as I follow Brevard, so kind of give our take on that. But, as a student at Brevard High School and as a Blue Devil fan in general, this team has a lot of talent, and they have a lot of potential to make a run in the state playoffs these next 2 years. And I say these next 2 years because the talented group of juniors that we have will be seniors next year, so they'll be back for another run. And that just spells doom for the rest of the volleyball world, because, Brevard's back, baby. At least I hope they are. So with that said, I think Brevard will win 3-1. I think it will be a fairly competitive matchup in each of the matches, but in the end, I'm going to say the Blue Devils come out on top. So we'll see. And if I do end up going to that game, I will most definitely cover the game whenever I can. So I'm really looking forward to this game. This will hopefully be a great turnout from both fan bases. I'm expecting to see a lot of blue and white and a lot of orange and black at the game tomorrow, if I end up going. Then there you go. So that's out of the way. Moving on to the football news. Brevard will be having their opener this week. Now, I said last week on multiple occasions that their game against P.F.H.S.A.A.W.N.C got postponed because of bad weather and COVID protocol, and of course, us not being able to practice. But this week, we get Robbinsville. And if I haven't mentioned it on this channel, I will say it to those of you who may be brand new, or maybe I haven't mentioned this. Robbinsville is probably the toughest team on Brevard's schedule this year. They have won more state championships than any other football team in Western North Carolina, which is just crazy. And even though they are a 1A team hidden within the mountains, they are a team that you definitely don't want to play. But the good news is that Brevard gets them at home this year. So home field advantage, I feel like, might help the Blue Devils in some way or fashion. And like with our volleyball team, our football team has a lot of talent as well. And a lot of them are seniors. And yes, we had a lack of leadership on last year's team, even though we went 4-3 in the regular in the season. We only had 9 seniors graduate from this past team. And so that means we got a lot of folks coming back ready for another run. And knowing Coach Craig Pritchett, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that he is going to work something out. All I hope is that the football team is watching as much film as they can and is practicing as hard as they can. Because to beat a team like Robbinsville, you gotta come into the stadium ready to play. And that's what I'm expecting to see on Friday. Hopefully, it really just depends on which Brevard team shows up. Whether it's the competitive one that we saw in the first 5 games of last season, or the sloppy Brevard team that we got in the last 2 games of last season. So, we'll see. I mean, like with the volleyball team, we'll see. But because of home field advantage and because of the absolutely dangerous ground game that Brevard has, they have 5 starting caliber running backs on their roster. 2 of them are seniors, 3 of them are juniors. And yeah, I know Robbinsville does have a good defense, but if you're trying to handle 5 starting caliber running backs, and all of them, I mean, and who of which are all coming off of explosive seasons, then they're gonna wear you down eventually. But D. Walsh, I will finally get to see his team in person. I've seen his team on Friday Football Frenzy highlights or things like that. But this time I get to see him in person, so hopefully it'll be a good game. Hopefully it'll be an amazing game. But I'm going to say Brevard wins in a shootout. I'm going to say they win 45-41. There will be a lot of points scored in this game. I just know it. So yeah. Home field advantage plays a big factor. The crazy rushing game that Brevard has will also be a major factor. The revamped offensive and defensive lines, the revamped defense, really everything. But really everything. It's really the support of the Blue Devil community as well as home field advantage that gives Brevard the edge for me. But like I said with the volleyball team, we'll see. So with that said, that concludes today's edition of the podcast for high school sports all across Western North Carolina. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is Water Dive 122 signing out. I'm ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.